Hey guys, we're here with another Foundations video where we are going to talk about using overdrive as an effect on electric guitar. This is a tool that can be used really effectively for increasing the intensity of your guitar playing in certain parts of songs. And today we'll be talking about what overdrive is, how we can dial in an overdrive sound, and how we can use them in a set. Overdrive is an effect that clips your signal in such a way that adds distortion coloring and alters its frequency response. This is very similar to other clipping effects like distortion and fuzz, but overdrive is certainly on the lower end of the intensity spectrum compared to these other effects, where distortion and fuzz pedals are designed to pretty drastically change the sound of the signal coming out of your amp. Overdrive is designed to add to what is already present. That's probably the biggest reason why we really like overdrive. We can use it to complement our core tone that comes from our guitar and amp, and that complementary approach will allow us not to distract people from singing to Jesus. The first thing we want to do when we're dialing in an overdrive pedal is make sure our amp sounds like we want it to sound without any overdrive pedals engaged. We suggested in another video that a great place to start for the level of amp drive is right on the edge of breakup when you dig into your strings. From that point, you can decide if you'd like to stay on the clean or dirty side of that setting for your tone by adjusting the volume or gain control on your amp. It's important to get this right because, again, we want to use overdrive to complement our tone and not drastically change it. Once we have that set, we can start applying some overdrive to our signal and making tweaks to the pedal settings. I currently have 3 overdrive pedals on my board that would be considered low to mid gain in terms of how the pedals color my sound, but they're all pretty different, and I thought I would just take a second and show you how I would dial in one of these for my purposes. And there are 3 guiding principles that I like to use when setting up an overdrive pedal. The first is a little more drive, the second is similar volume, and the third is similar tone. A little more drive is overall what I am after with these pedals, and so I'm going to first compare the overdriven sound to my amp sound and decide how much more drive I want to add. So I'll start adjusting this right now. Here's my amp sound with no overdrive. Okay, so it's kind of dirty already. I'll go ahead and kick on the pedal with all of the settings at 12 o'clock, so no adjustments have been made. So we can tell that there's a considerable amount of drive added when I kick on that pedal. So I'll go ahead and adjust that drive and constantly click the pedal on and off and compare the amp sound. I think I want a little less. I'll just start dialing that back. So I like where that's at. Now, similar to our approach to compression, I don't want any real discernible difference in volume between the overdriven sound and the original sound. So as I'm adjusting the level of drive, which I just did, I'll adjust the volume to match. And so here's my dry signal again. So as I kick the pedal on, the volume's pretty close. I might add a little back with the pedal engaged and see how that sounds. So I feel like that's pretty close. And lastly, a lot of overdrive pedals have a tone knob or some sort of EQ control built in. And what I try to do with them is similar to what I do with the volume knob on the pedal. And that's to try and get close to the original frequency response of my amp. Now, overdrive pedals are going to add their own unique coloring. So as long as things aren't thrown too far out of whack, you should be okay. So I'm going to adjust this tone knob now and we'll see where we end up. I'm going to darken it up just a little bit. So I feel like that's a pretty good place to be for dialing in this pedal. One quick thing to note about overdrive pedals is that we typically want to place them towards the front of our pedal board chain. after compressors, and directly before or after a volume pedal, depending on what your goals are. If you put them before a volume pedal, your level of drive will stay constant no matter how depressed the pedal is. And if you put them after a volume pedal, your level of drive will react similarly to how it reacts to the volume knob on your guitar. And so you can decide how to go about that. I personally put my drive pedals in front of my volume pedals so I can have a constant amount of drive as I swell in for swells and more ambient moments. And as far as when to use it, overdrive is great for any parts of songs that need an extra boost of energy, maybe a big intro part or final chorus. Most of the time, when the rest of the band is in really big, overdrive would work really well. And when things are a little more mellow, maybe with just keys, vocals, and a small guitar part, you can probably save the overdrive for later. But just pay attention to the song and listen to what the part needs, and you'll figure it out. As with most of these considerations, planning ahead of time will serve you really well, and over time, you'll start to pick up on how overdrive relates to the dynamics of most songs. One final encouragement I'd like to share regarding overdrive pedals is to not worry so much about buying the greatest and best out there, because there are truly so many available, and not all of them are going to sound great with your guitar and amp. Definitely do your research and try to find some video demos of pedals that are played on guitar and amp setups similar to yours, and by all means, borrow pedals from people and try them out yourself before you buy them. Find what inspires you and works for your setup and serves your band well, and you'll be great. And we hope that this video has been helpful to you. And if you have any questions at all about this content, please feel free to email us at worship@grace-bible.org. We'll see you next time.